They are the pride and joy of Russian sport. But track and field stars like pole vaulter Yelena Isinbayeva won't be going for gold at next month's Rio Olympics, despite having friends in high places. That's due to a landmark legal judgment which sided with athletics' world governing body, the IAAF, against 68 Russians challenging a ruling which bars them from Brazil.
Athletes whose national federation is suspended by the IAAF are ineligible for competition held under the IAAF rules, including the Olympic Games.
The IAAF banned Russian athletes after an investigation uncovered state-sponsored doping and a cover-up of positive tests. Speaking in London today, the most famous face in world athletics said he was encouraged by the message it sent.
If you cheat or if you go against the rules, then we're going to take serious action. This will scare a lot of people or send a strong message to let you know that the sport is serious. We want to clean the sports up.
The decision to uphold the ban could yet have wider implications. A separate damning report earlier this week implicated Russia with doping in 30 different sports. The International Olympic Committee is now considering banning the entire Russian Olympic team. It may now have the legal power to issue a blanket ban when it meets on Sunday, but there are concerns its leadership is divided.
If you're going to do something as dramatic as suspend an entire team, you want to make sure that you don't trip over some legal hurdle that you haven't thought of. I do get the impression, reading between the lines, however, that the IOC is, for some reason, very reluctant to think about a total exclusion of the Russian team.
Russia's government says any decision which collectively punishes its competitors is unacceptable, and further steps are being planned. Today's ruling has, however, left it and its athletes in a state of despair. Richard Conway, BBC News.
Well, after that decision, there was undisguised fury in Moscow. Russia's sports minister said Russia would challenge the ruling.
На мой взгляд, это решение, конечно, абсолютно нарушает.
In my opinion, this decision totally violates the rights of clean athletes, honest athletes, and of course it creates a precedent of collective responsibility. Today, the team and all the athletes who have been banned will discuss with the Federation what to do next. I think we need to protect their honour and dignity. Even if the athletes don't make it to the Olympics, I think that it's time to go to the civil court because these rules prejudice human rights.
Well, let's head live to Moscow and speak to our correspondent Oleg Bolyarev, who is following all the developments. We showed just a small part of that news conference, but there is real anger there in Moscow.
Well, Mr. Mutko was well composed, not as nervous and furious as some of the speakers here in Moscow. He essentially was repeating quite a lot of the same lines he did for the past 9 months, I think. He was saying that Russia was making progress. Russia is trying to clean its sport. Russia is doing all it can and employs foreign specialists and employs foreign labs now, which do the Yes, the main line coming from him is that the decision taken in Switzerland penalizes the very people which are supposed to be promoted now, the clean athletes, the shining example, Miss Yelena Isinbayeva, the venerated pole vaulter, who is now very disappointed. She went to Switzerland yesterday to attend the ruling, and today's Instagram from her is full of bitterness. She's saying now those pseudo-athletes will have to compete for that pseudo-gold without Russians.
President Putin has often used sport to project the power of Russia. So how much of a blow is this, do you think?
Quite a lot, and if you listen to some second-tier bureaucrats here in Moscow, this is all actually a vendetta against Mr. Putin himself. One official said the entire campaign is being orchestrated in America, and the end game is to prevent the World Football Championship of 2018 to be held in Russia. Of course, this is an extreme view, but yes, the importance of sport in promoting Mr. Putin's image among Russians is obviously very, very high.
There's also been talk of a possible boycott from Moscow in advance of that IOC decision that still has to be taken. This adds more pressure on the IOC to have a blanket ban. Is that what they're beginning to anticipate there in Russia's capital? Just a total ban on the whole of the Russian team?
Well, certainly this possibility is looming ever larger. They were supposed to bid farewell to the athletes who are going to Rio tomorrow. Now this ceremony is postponed and the entire squad is staying put. No doubt this is connected to this nervous anticipation of Sunday's decision. Regarding the boycott, well, Mr. Putin spoke, I think 2 or 3 days ago, saying that he is against boycotts, that the policy which practiced briefly in the 80s is very harmful to the Olympic sports. But yes, there are some low-level comments in trying to say that perhaps Russia needs to make some stance and say, no, we don't need those games.